Welcome back to the Right Way Sports Network YouTube channel. I'm your host, Aidan Maher, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the G League Ignite's 4 prospects heading into the 2021 NBA Draft. Those 4 guys being Jalen Green, Daishen Nix, Isaiah Todd, and Jonathan Kuminga. There's a lot of talent to get to. Obviously, the G League Ignite, it's new to the basketball community, new just this year, and I like it. It was fun to watch, and obviously 4 NBA-worthy prospects to talk about today. But before I get into that, make sure you guys go download the Right Way Sports Network mobile app. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all our social medias. We have content coming at you guys daily. I can assure you that you don't want to miss out. But now let's get into it. How this is going to work. I'm going to rank these 4 prospects based on my rankings, who I have 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd, then 1st. I'm going to go in that order, so I'm going to start with my number 4 ranked prospect out of these 4 guys, and I'm going to talk about where are these guys projected to go in the draft, my personal strengths and weaknesses on their game. You're going to get the full rundown on these guys. So, let's start it off with my number 4 ranked prospect, none other than point guard Daishen Nix. The main selling point with Daishen Nix, it's the playmaking ability. That is the main selling point for Daishen Nix. Does he have the passing ability of Sharife Cooper, the playmaking ability of Cade Cunningham? Not quite, but he's still one of the best passers and playmakers in this year's draft. He can make basically every pass in the book. Really, he can. From full court passes to, he'll be driving to the hoop and he'll find somebody in the corner, kick it out to him. He can make basically every pass in the book. So the playmaking is clearly the main selling point with Daishen Nix. As for his scoring, most of his scoring production comes as a finisher. That was the case with the G League Ignite, and overall, he is a good finisher, but I still have my concerns. He's a bit one-dimensional. He mainly just relied on his size. He's 6'5" with the 6'4" wingspan, around 225 pounds, good strength and contact balance, so you can tell, okay, that's not overwhelmingly large, but for a point guard, he's pretty big. So typically, he'd take opposing guards and just kind of body him up, not necessarily posting them up, but he'd use his size to his advantage, and that's not saying he did that 24/7, but a lot of the time it was mostly him using his size. However, I'm not sure how well it's going to translate to the league. I still think he's a good finisher, don't get me wrong, but he lacks that floater, he lacks burst, so he's not going to blow by anybody. He's not somebody who has that floater ready to go if needed, and he's not super crafty around the rim. He's not very athletic, so I have my concerns there, but I would still consider him a good finisher. As for his three-point shot, it's definitely one of his swing skills, but also something I'm not very confident in, and it's definitely a weakness in his game. He took over 2 attempts per game, but he made under 18% of his threes. One of those threes, by the way, was a half-court shot. One of his few makes was a half-court shot. So, Daishen Nix, what is wrong? What is wrong with Daishen Nix's three-point shot? Why is he shooting this low percentage? Well, his release his mechanics, they're just not good. They aren't good. They change every single shot, his mechanics do. Even on his makes, it's nothing impressive, The mechanics are not encouraging. Most of his looks were open spot-up shots, too, so that 18% is really inexcusable. And the lack of the three-point shot is really why he can't play off the ball. His offensive versatility is very limited. The only way he's going to make a positive impact offensively is with the ball in his hands, and that's going to hurt his draft stock. The last thing I want to say about his offensive game is I'd like to see him cut the turnovers a little bit. I'd like to see his ball handling under pressure get a little better. I'd like to see his velocity on some of his passes get a little better. Sometimes he just lobs it in there, and instead of zipping it in, you gotta zip some of those passes in that instead he lobs, and it leads to turnovers rather than assists. And I'd also say he telegraphs passes every once in a while. Now, is this some major weakness? No. This is something that will get better in time and really is nothing huge. This isn't a huge weakness like the three-point shot or something else, but it is worth mentioning. Defensively, Daishen Nix is currently a negative. His motor is inconsistent, and when he isn't engaged, his fundamentals are really poor, and he lacks lateral quickness. He's not very athletic. He lacks a lot of athletic tools. He does. I talked about how the burst isn't there. Neither is the lateral quickness, really. He's going to need to cut some of that weight because he is overweight. And he's going to need to add more athletic ability, add more lateral quickness, and then again, the effort just got to get a little more consistent. if the effort gets more consistent and he gets better athletically, we're looking at Daishen Nix. This is a guy who could develop into a positive defender. Really and truly. Like, will he ever be all-defensive team? No. And it's definitely going to take a good amount of development for him even to become an average defender. But there is some upside there for him to become a solid defensive guard in the NBA. Overall, on Daishen Nix, I wouldn't rank him any higher than the 40s, to be quite frank with you. I think I was a bit too harsh on him in my first evaluation, but I'm still not a huge fan of him. Again, the 40s is the highest I'd rank him. He had first-round hopes at the beginning of the year, but his draft stock has fallen a little bit, and I find it hard to believe we see his name get called in the first round. But second round, I think he's a pretty safe bet to go there. At number 3, I've got none other than Isaiah Todd. And the first thing I want to touch up on here is his combination of height, length, and athleticism. He's 6'10" with the 7-foot wingspan, and for a guy that size, he moves very well. Now, don't get me wrong, he definitely still has a slender frame, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but again, like the vertical, it's nice. He's got a nice vertical, and his burst and lateral quickness are particularly impressive for a dude that size at 6'10", and it's going to help him in areas, especially defensively, which, again, I'll get to in a minute. But the main selling point that I think people look at with Isaiah Todd, and I would have to agree, is the shooting. He's a very good shooter. He hit 36% of his looks last season with the G League Ignite. That was on over 3 attempts per game. He certainly has confidence from deep. He's got a nice high release. It's smooth. I like it. I like the shooting mechanics. He's got a nice soft touch. The free throw percentages, over 80%. Over 80% from the charity stripe. Listen, it was on a small sample size, that 82%. But it's still encouraging nonetheless. And he's shown versatility. He loves operating out of the pick and pop. If you're looking for a pick and pop big, Isaiah Todd is going to be on your radar. And I don't think teams are necessarily filtering it down to, oh man, I really want to pick and pop big. But I'm sure a lot of teams are looking for maybe a guy like that. Isaiah Todd has to be on the radar. He creates a ton of mismatches off of screens, and he loves operating out of the pick and pop. He shoots well out of it. He's got good shooting versatility, because not only does he have that ability out of the pick and pop, but he can shoot spot-ups. He loves the fadeaway from the mid-range. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, because his shot selection with it warrants improvement, but still, he has that shooting versatility. I even think he's shown a little bit of ability coming off screens, movement type of shooting. Definitely won't be a calling card. It's definitely going to take some development before he really is relied upon to shoot that in the NBA, but it's still there. He is still a little streaky from 3. He misses some open looks, but don't get me wrong, he's still a good 3-point shooter, and all the indicators are there that he'll continue to get better. As for the rest of his offensive game, I have my concerns. I have my concerns about the rest of his offensive game. Again, I talked about his shot selection and that fadeaway that he loves. It warrants improvement, and his shot selection and decision-making in general just warrant improvement. He takes a lot of ill-advised shots. He doesn't look to pass very often at all. He averaged under 1 assist per game, and don't get me wrong, Isaiah Todd was not put in a position to be a primary playmaker or anything like that, and he did make a couple nice reads during the season, but he doesn't look to pass very often. He's very much a shoot-first guy, and I don't really think he has too much playmaking ability. And as for his finishing, it's a concern. It definitely is. He struggles with contact. I think that goes back to his slender frame. He really doesn't look to take it to the hoop a lot, which I'd like to see, because he doesn't do a ton of face-ups, but he's shown some ability, in the face-up game. I like the potential there, because he has burst. He has burst, so the only issue is he really just shot most of the time in the face-up, because he doesn't like to take it to the hoop. So he doesn't like to take it to the hoop, and when he does, the results aren't great. So there's that. And defensively. Now let's talk about the defense, because enough with the negatives. Let's get to some positives. He is super switchable. For a big, he is super switchable. You're not going to have to play a ton of drop coverage with him. He can switch, even onto some guards in the NBA. Because, as I said, he has the athletic tools, he has the lateral quickness, and he's got a 7-foot wingspan. Those things will fare well in space, and they have for Isaiah Todd. He's a very good defender on the perimeter. As for his off-ball defense, as for him as a help-side shot blocker, I need to see improvement, because he just doesn't stay engaged, and as a help-side shot blocker, he absolutely has flashed the ability, and it makes sense. He's got a 7-foot wingspan, plenty of athletic tools, but his instincts and timing just aren't there yet. So you'd like to see Isaiah Todd get more engaged there and work on those timing and instincts, because he could absolutely be a very good help-side shot blocker. Now, him as a small ball 5 is an interesting decision. It's great offensively because he works really well in the pick and pop, and he can space the floor, and that's what you're looking for, shooters in the small, in a small ball lineup, and he's still got decent size. It's not exactly center material, but a small ball center, it can fly. But on defense, if you have him defensively, and the other team, as a small ball 5, he's your center, and the other team's got a bigger dude that can, he's stronger and he has some post-up ability, Isaiah Todd will struggle. He just doesn't have the strength to handle those bigs on the post. And don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting Isaiah Todd to be a true rim protector, nor do I think the team that drafts him will be expecting that, but he isn't a true rim protector. The vertical's decent, it is, and he's got solid length, but he doesn't truly have the size of a rim protector, plus his effort off the ball and timing on shot blocks have to get better for him to really become a true rim protector. So there's that too. Again, the small ball lineup, you're giving up some rim protection typically, but yeah, Isaiah Todd, for a guy who could potentially play some 5, he's not really going to be a great rim protector. Maybe he can develop into a solid one in a small ball lineup, but I think that's best case scenario. Overall, I feel like I'm with the consensus on Todd. I don't love him compared to everybody else. I definitely don't hate him. Right now, I view him as more of an early second-round guy. I haven't finalized my current big board. We do multiple during the year. We already just did our first one last week. Go check that out on the TWSN mobile app. Isaiah Todd, probably going to end up for me somewhere in the low 30s, somewhere around that range, But despite that, there's definitely a chance we see an NBA team take him late first round. Right now, I think he's viewed as a second-round guy, and that may stay that way, but that doesn't mean he can't sneak into the later first round. Again, you're looking for that floor-spacing big with some athletic tools, and there's intrigue there with Isaiah Todd as a forward/small ball 5 that can space the floor. At number 2, I've got Jonathan Kuminga. We're taking a jump. Isaiah Todd, I have him as a second-round guy. Jonathan Kuminga, I have him as a lottery guy. So we're taking a bit of a jump here. Kuminga, what's to like about his game? First, I'm going to start with the offense, as I have so far with the rest of these guys. Elite slasher. Fantastic slasher. He has this great burst and great strength. You pair those two things together, you're going to get typically a good slasher. Jonathan Kuminga absolutely is, because he has that strength and then the burst, as I talked about. He's a good finisher as well. That's mainly where you're going to get a lot of the consistent, efficient scoring from him, is a finisher early on in his career. That's kind of going to be the go-to spot for him if you're looking for more of an efficient bucket for Kuminga. That's more of his area as a finisher. Definitely not an elite finisher. Definitely has room to grow here, but he's solid. And I'd also say his movement off the ball's decent. I like his movement off the ball, so there's that. I like that. And he's shown upside everywhere. Don't get me wrong, but those are the 3 things to me that, okay, we're working with NBA-level skills. Because a lot of what Kuminga is raw. He's raw. He's super boomer bust, which you're going to discover in a minute. And obviously, you love the frame. 6'8", 220 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan. He might be 6'6". I might have the height wrong on that, but he's got a very chiseled frame as well. The dude just ripped. He's a freak athlete. He is, because he has the burst, he has the vertical, lateral quickness, some open court speed, things like that. So, Jonathan Kuminga, you've got a nice frame. I do think he's a little shorter for a wing, but there's certainly length there, there's certainly strength, the athletic tools, all of that. And as I said, the slashing, the finishing, the off-ball movement. Why is he so raw? First of all, the 3-point shot. He certainly doesn't lack confidence from behind the arc. He certainly doesn't. But he's not good there. He isn't. The percentages aren't good. The free throw percentages aren't encouraging. His mechanics are just stiff. His release is just stiff. And improvement has to be made there. Now, he definitely could improve. But this is why, with Jonathan Kuminga, I talk about the two of the most important things are where he gets drafted and what's his work ethic like, which I'll touch up more on at the end of this discussion about Jonathan Kuminga. As a 3-point shooter, though, again, if he develops, that's a swing skill for him. If he develops that, man, if he doesn't, we're in trouble. As a playmaker, he'll definitely never be a primary playmaker, but I think he's shown some flashes. I think he has. He definitely needs to improve. He gets tunnel vision at times, all that jazz. And he lacks the feel for the game too. But, no. he's definitely shown upside as a playmaker, and if he can develop that three-point shot and become even better as a finisher, his scoring gravity is definitely going to open more things up as well. Now, he is a ball stopper on offense, and currently, right now, as we speak, I don't think Jonathan Kuminga is a player that can make a positive impact on the offensive end of the court. I don't think so. Because, yes, the finishing's all right, but he's not a shooter. He's a ball stopper on offense when he gets the ball. So, again, you're not getting that floor spacing. He's kind of stopping ball movement. Like, there are things to like, but I don't love his offensive game right now, and that's where the bust factor really comes in. But I want to talk about his defense before I get into all of that. Because defensively, Kuminga has all the tools to be an all-NBA type of defender. All-defensive team type of guy. It's obvious. I mean, I said it, the length and the athletic tools. You put 2 and 2 together, you're getting a very good defender. The thing with Kuminga, though, is the motor. The fundamentals a little bit, too. He's still raw. But, no, the motor's the biggest thing, just staying engaged. And that's encouraging. I like that. Not all players end up, actually improving on their motor defensively, but, you end up in the right spot and you mature. Most players do develop it, or at least get better with it, good enough with it. So if Kuminga can, he locks in defensively, he can be a positive defender from day one. And that's including, obviously he's going to get an offseason under his belt too to work on the fundamentals a little bit. But overall, Jonathan Kuminga is one of the biggest boomer bust guys in this class. He is. He is one of the biggest boomer bust guys in this class because you see the flashes everywhere, and I'd also like to mention offensively that he is a terrible ball handler, and his shot selection is not very good. Kind of tied in with the tunnel vision. Yeah, you got what I was saying there. But Kuminga, he is boomer bust. I'm particularly not high on him. I had him at 8 on my last big board. Subject to change, obviously. We have over 2 months till the draft. But I'm not super high on Kuminga because a lot of people have this dude top 5. I don't. He's just so raw. And he does remind me a lot of Jaylen Brown as a prospect. I tweeted that probably like a month ago or something, and I think a lot of people agree. But for him to have the type of success that Jaylen Brown has had, he's got to end up on the right team, and he's got to have one hell of a work ethic. Those are 2 tough things to bank on. So Kuminga could be a stud. One of the best players out of this draft class. Could be a star player. But for all that potential he has, there's just as good of a chance that he's out of the league in 5 years. And some people may be coming back to this years from now and saying, oh, look, Aidan was totally wrong about Kuminga. No. If he pans out, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what the work ethic is with Kuminga. You don't know where he's going to land. So there's a very good chance that he busts. We'll see. Time will tell. But overall, on Jonathan Kuminga, I'm not as big on him as everybody else is. But don't get me wrong, the potential is still immaculate, and he's still a lottery guy. And now my highest ranked G League Ignite prospect, none other than Jalen Green, who, unlike Jonathan Kuminga and Dasha Nix, his stock has actually risen. Now, I know a lot of people had this dude in like the 4 to 6 range, and now, a lot of people have him like 3 or 4. I personally have him at 3. But his stock has risen, and I know you're probably saying that's only a couple spots, but I don't think people realize how hard it is to be a consensus top 10 guy and actually improve your draft stock. Like, be a consensus top 10 guy at the beginning of the year and improve it. That's hard to do, and Jalen Green did that. What is to like about Jalen Green? What is there to like? Best scorer in the draft. How about that to start things off? He's the best scorer in the draft. I'll say that with confidence. His first step is lethal. As a finisher, he's awesome. He's an awesome finisher. Now, don't get me wrong, his slim frame is definitely going to hurt him a little bit, but he can finish with finesse when necessary. He's ambidextrous. He's super crafty, and he can also throw it down on you. If you give him the opportunity to dunk on you, he'll do it. His vertical's insane, and he's fearless. He's pretty fearless. So again, the slim frame may hurt him a little bit, but he's a damn good finisher, and he can blow by any defender you put in front of him. His first step is that good. As a three-point shooter, he's still a bit streaky, but he shot, 36% last season? And he still took a good amount of attempts. He's got good versatility there. He can definitely shoot off the dribble. Jalen Green, again, a little streaky, but very good three-point shooter. And all the indicators are there that he's still a little streaky, but all the indicators are there that he's going to continue to get better. And that is scary. That is scary. he's such a good scorer because he pairs the athleticism with actual, skill. He kind of knows what he's doing. He has the shooting ability. Those things are important, and he uses the athleticism, especially you'll see it in transition. He's a nuisance in transition. Absolute nuisance. Oh my goodness. Probably the best transition scorer in this class as well. I'd say he is. He'd say he's the best transition scorer in this year's class. So add that to the list. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not flawless here. Again, the frame, as I said, is going to hurt him a little bit. He is very slender, and his shot selection definitely needs to improve. It does. And I think that'll come with time and some development, but it is definitely a weakness of his right now. But no, he can create his own shot at all three levels. Best scorer in the draft. As for his playmaking ability, he has shown ability out of the pick and roll. Out of the pick and roll, he doesn't really need the pick and roll all that much because he can create his own shot, but pick and roll still helps. It's a theme in today's NBA, as I talked about with Daishen Nix. And he's shown playmaking ability out of the pick and roll, so that's encouraging. He has something to work off of, something to build off of, and you just hope that playmaking ability circles around to the rest of his game. It grows in the rest of his game outside of the pick and roll. And I hope it can, because Jalen Green, he's still young and his scoring gravity is going to be really, really high. So he's going to create open looks for others. It's just about getting the ball there, which will be interesting to see. But I do think he can continue to improve as a playmaker. He'll never be a primary initiator or anything like that, but unless the offense is absolutely centered around him, he might be put in that position. I don't see him ever being an elite playmaker. But no, the gravity's definitely going to set him up. Set his teammate up for looks. It's just going to be about him getting those passes there. So, what else would I... Oh, yeah. Almost forgot. Ball handling. Ball handling is a weakness. It is. And listen, this is another thing about him as a shot creator. He's going to turn the ball over a little bit. He is. And the ball handling definitely needs to improve. Defensively, he's currently a negative because, as the rest of his G League Ignite prospects here, the motor is bad. It's not good with Jalen Green. His effort is definitely inconsistent. His frame is so slender that he just gets caught up on screens, and he's not super versatile on defense. But he has potential here to be a good defender. He does. He's got a 6'7" wingspan. He's got great athletic tools. Obviously, lateral quickness is going to be the big one you're going to talk about with the defense on ball. But that's the thing with Jalen Green. It's just going to take some development. We got to get stronger. We got to bulk up a little bit. And if you can do that and your effort gets more consistent, you can be a good defender. And I'm not asking Jalen Green to be all defensive team or anything. Nor do I really think he will be. But if he can become a solid defender, which he has the tools to become, that's great. Now, at the end of the day, I'm big on Jalen Green. I like Jalen Green a lot. Does my ranking really reflect that? No, because most people have this dude at 3 or 4, but, rightfully so. Cade and Mobley are just incredible, but yes, I would put Jalen Green at 3, and I honestly think Jalen Suggs, at first I was a little kind of debating it, but now I'm pretty sure Jalen Green's going to stay at 3 for me. I really like him. This dude at worst is giving you 20 points per game. And I know the defense, his floor is, poor defender and not a great playmaker, so mainly just a scorer, but that's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is he's one of the best scorers in the league. He develops into a pretty solid playmaker and pretty solid defender. How about that? I mean, we'll see. Depends on the work ethic and where he lands and all that. But the potential is certainly there for Jalen Green, and so is the floor. I don't see how you can go wrong with Jalen Green, maybe unless you take him over Cade Cunningham or maybe Evan Mobley, depending on your situation. But that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. Make sure you guys go download the Right Way Sports Network mobile app. We've got content coming at you guys every single day. We've got articles coming every single day. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. The button's right down there. Just do it. We got live shows just about every day. We've got plenty of content like this coming in the future. I'm going to have tons of NBA draft stuff, tons of other stuff, not just NBA draft, coming in the near future. We just got plenty of content for you guys. Our social medias, our Instagram, our Twitter. I can assure you don't want to miss out. I know I said it at the beginning, but I gotta say it again, guys. Don't miss out. We are building something special here at the Right Way Sports Network. But anyways, that's going to end today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.